So how many bad guys are we going to get this season? We already have at least two. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess the Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to Season 4, Episode 3 of Wakfu. So far so good. These first couple episodes have been really a strong start to the season, giving us closure from the end of the last season, as well as kind of sending everybody on their way. We know they're going to come back together, but for now they're being sent their separate ways to, handle their affairs, do whatever they need to do. And in the meantime, we've got two new villains set up. So we have the goddess of the Eliotropes, who seems to be more of a subtle villain. And her thing right now seems to be like something happened between her and the other goddesses. Things went down. The area they're in, the pocket dimension or whatever you want to call it, is in ruins. I forgot the actual name of it, so deal with me right now. It's in ruins, and it's implied to be because of her. And she has a couple other Eliotropes working for her. I forgot the one's name, but then we have Kilby. And that's never a good sign. And right now there's kind of the implication that she's not really a good person. And it's coming across like, oh, you'll understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. And it's like, that's not something you want to hear. So it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. I think she's, again, more of a subtle villain, though. Like, she has good intent, but she's just willing to take things way too far in order to achieve her goals. There are a lot of villains like that, and I'm going to wait to see how she's handled before I really give any thoughts on it. But then we have an assassin who was in this prison tower and has just chosen to leave. It basically comes across like, oh, he was there on his own decision. He didn't need to be there. He could have stopped them from arresting him or whatnot. He just wanted a break. So he took his break, but now he's willing to go back into things, and it's very clear that he's going to be a threat. And I don't know in which way, to what level, but he's definitely going to be a threat. He's blind, but that clearly doesn't impair him, which, by the way, I love that we include characters like that in animation. Like, we have Toph, for example, obviously in Avatar: The Last Airbender. But it's like there's a lot more animation that's showing both good guys and bad guys having disabilities. And I think that's really cool to show both sides of it. Because you have, like, good guys, like, again, with Avatar, you have Toph, you have Teo in the same series. But you also have bad guys, like in The Legend of Korra. Minghua, I think her name is, one of Zahir's Red Lotus people. She has no arms, and she uses her water bending to create, like, these tentacle arms for herself. And it's like, that's so cool. That's such a unique idea. It doesn't stop her from being a bad guy, but I'm glad that we're showing both sides of that at the same time. And that's becoming a lot more common lately, and I really, really do enjoy that. That we're getting to see, like, both good and bad people of all kinds. Showing that kind of realistic view on that. That just because they might have a disability or something does not automatically mean they're going to be good or sympathetic. Like, there have been people in real life with disabilities who have been bad people. That just happens. And I think it's better to show both sides of that. And I'm saying this as someone with mental disabilities of my own. I may not have, like, any kind of notable physical disabilities, but I do have disabilities, even if they can't just be outwardly seen. And I want to see more characters like that. I want to see characters who have disabilities both on the side of good and the side of bad. because it feels more real. It feels more natural. It feels like just believable that way. And I mean, don't obviously like portray the bad ones as inept or wrong because of their disabilities. Don't do that. But there are good ways to handle it. And Ming-Hua is a great example. Legend of Korra, just the Avatar universe in general, is amazing with that. So, yeah. I like how we kind of get that kind of thing here with one of our villains being blind. And it clearly not impairing him or anything at all. In fact, you could even possibly say he might be stronger because of it. Just like you would say that about Toph in Avatar. But yeah, the animation has been fantastic. The voice acting has been fantastic, even from the new VAs we got. And just everything about it feels like we're back, you know? We're back, and it's still exciting to be back. We're on episode 3. I know we've been back for a couple episodes, but it's still just so exciting. And I'm just really excited for more. And I do not want to rush this series. But just as a note for all those watching, next week we are going on spring break. So we will not be recording or uploading anything on Wednesday next week. However, next Monday, I'm going to kind of do an amalgamation of different things that I normally do during the course of the week. I'm doing One Piece, I'm doing Wakfu, and I'm doing one other thing I can't think of at the moment. But I'm doing Dr. Stone. That's what it was. One Piece, Dr. Stone, and Wakfu. Things I normally react to on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are all on Monday next week. Because I want to make sure I get to those specific shows before I go on spring break next week. So there will be Wakfu next week. It'll just be on Monday instead of Wednesday. Just letting you know ahead of time. But all of that being said, let's just get into this episode and see where it goes. I'm just really excited for more. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, quite a lot happened in this episode. But I want to get this out of the way first. I mentioned during the reaction that there was something I had to say here. And so let's talk about this before anything else. I can see exactly what kind of villain the Heliotrope goddess is now. And it's a very common type of villain that we've seen in a lot of different things. She's the kind of villain who is trying to shape the world in her image. And she uses the excuse of, we're going to get rid of violence, of war, of strife, of poverty, stuff like that. We're going to get rid of all of that stuff and make the world a utopia of love, of acceptance. And here's the problem with that ideology. The only way to do this is through force. The only way to create a world, a utopia of love, is through forcing people to adhere to it. By doing this, you take away free will, and you actually take away real love. Because you're forcing them to go through with your ideologies and not allowing them to make the decision on their own. True love comes from your own will, comes from your decisions, comes from your connections to people. If that's forced, it doesn't mean anything. And when you're forcing people to be good and be, you know, caring towards others, it's not legitimate. They're acting out of fear, not love. And don't get me wrong, I obviously know the heliotrope goddess has this ability to make this a thing. She absolutely can make this utopian world come to fruition. But the problem is, almost any kind of utopia like this is in reality dystopian. And a lot of people, unfortunately, in the real world, still think like this. That if everyone were to believe the things I believe, to think the way I think, to live their lives in a way that I deem as proper, then the world would be a better place. But the problem with that is that's just such a biased, unreasonable take. Because your view might not be inherently correct. And your view on what it means, in this case, to love, to be loved, to express that love and all, might cause more problems than good in this kind of forced utopia. You have to acknowledge that free will and the fact that people are so different and think so different, have different ideologies, different interests, different things that they hold dear and important to them, it's necessary for life to flourish. Like, yeah, it sucks sometimes. Yes, wars, strife, pain, sorrow, all of that come from this too. But a world, a pure utopia where everything is built around love cannot exist. Because all of it is subjective. Love is different for each person, so no one person's view of it is objectively better. And again, there are people who will use that kind of stuff for bad. And we see it all the time in real life. People who are doing horrible things with the best of intentions. And that's clearly what is happening here. Like, I would not call the heliotrope goddess evil. Not by any means. She's misguided. She has seen the strife and pain and war and wants to fix it, but is doing so in a really bad way. I understand her point of view, but I don't agree with the way she's choosing to handle it. And unfortunately, we know that she understands Yugo would not agree with it either. And that's why she put Yugo into a slumber. I am 100% like absolutely convinced that his tiredness was not natural. It might have been what's her face, the other one. I can't think of her name. It said her name multiple times and I can't think of it. But it might have been her who actually did it to him. But either way, it was by the mother's hand. It was her decision, clearly. She wanted him to sleep and to take him within herself, like she had done with all these others who are also would probably have rejected this idea. And now that he's in this sleeping state, he won't be in the way to stop her. So she'll be able to enact this plan again with good intent, but a plan that will without question hurt the world of 12. Now, one thing that interested me is that in the episode she mentioned that her powers, her eyes, the sight, does not stretch over the entire world of 12. There is somewhere, we don't know where, it never actually says in this episode, but some parts of the world of 12 are unviewable for her. And I'm genuinely wondering what those parts are. Obviously, don't tell me because that's more than likely a spoiler, but yeah. I also want to bring up real quick that Adamai managed to escape from all of this. He after his own mission saw that this was wrong and saw that things were going in the wrong direction, so he left, which means he's probably going to be able to figure out that Yugo was put into this sleep, and he's going to be able to help bring him back eventually. This is absolutely going to be important. Now, I was told after the last episode that apparently certain things, like in regards to the Heliotrope goddess and what happened and everything, are revealed in the extended lore and everything that's in like the video games and other media surrounding Wakfu and the world of 12 and the Krosmas and all that. Now, I've played a little bit of some of the other games. I've played like a little bit of the Wakfu MMO. I've played the Krosmaga and so on and so forth. But I guess I haven't played either the right games or I haven't gotten far enough. And I have not seen the lore for any of that. So even though that might be known to more, I guess you could say, hardcore fans who have gone through all this other media, do not tell me what this lore is, because it's more than likely going to be revealed during the season, and I would rather find out naturally. So do not spoil that for me. So let's start talking about all the other stuff that happened in this episode. There's a lot, so if I miss anything, feel free to ask about it in the comments. So first off, we get to finally see what happened after Amalia was sent home to the Sarida Kingdom. We didn't actually get to see that last episode, and that very much clued me in that we would probably see it either this episode or in a future one. So we see that Armand's wife had checked to see if they could do anything about the eyes, but anytime she got close, she got zapped. And so Amalia then appears before them as she's about to head out to tend to her own people. And this is how Amalia ends up finding out about her father's death, which she had not known about before. Now, I know her and Armand are not always, like, the closest and everything. There's some issues between them and all, and some questionable actions towards each other and everything. Let's just say that. But the way he handled telling her this was really messed up. Like, she's talking about wanting to talk to her father, and he's like, oh, yeah, he's in the garden next to our mother's death tree. And she's like, oh, he's up and about, yay. And then she goes there and finds his death tree, and it's like, depression. Armand, like, dude, you did not need to be an asshole like that there. That was just not okay. Like, I know there's some, there's issues, but that's not okay. That was not an okay way for her to find out. Meanwhile, Ava, Percidal, the others, they make it back to their house and find that it's been fixed already. It's been repaired. Everything, hell, looks nicer than when they left it. Nicer than it was before it got destroyed and everything. And they find out that it has been occupied by Pooh. He has chosen to occupy it and make it his home and has been squatting here. And now that they're back, he's just like, oh, I'm a fanboy of you guys. I made this art. I made these wooden figures. Oh, want some cabbage stew I made? It's really good. And they're all falling for it. It's like, I don't trust this. I don't trust anything. I'm like Adamai right now. I'm just like very distrusting of everything going on. But they're falling for it. They're still acting very suspicious towards him, but they're falling for everything with the cabbage stew and dessert and all. It's just all these honeyed words working on them. And then you have our bad guy as well, Madagascan. And we see that he traverses the world, eventually reaching this shop where this character named Collector is keeping his bow. He forces the Collector into giving it back to him, but the Collector decides to betray him at the last moment, saying that he's not allowed to have his bow back. He tries to set off a trap and skewer him, but Madagascan, of course, escapes it because he's badass and intensely tricky and strong. And he leaves the Collector with a little going away present, I guess you could say, by fucking with his little mechanical legs there. But he doesn't kill him, and that is interesting. We know he also is known for killing royalty now, so there's that bit of information. We're learning more and more about him, and I'm wondering exactly how he's going to come into play here. What is his goal? Does he want to kill the Heliotrope goddess? Does he want to kill someone else? Where is this going? I don't know. But I am very interested to find out, because he is already a super fascinating villain. So we get to see, like, going back to the Heliotropes, we get to see them kind of going around doing these little missions. And again, it's very clearly, like, off. Everything is very off about it all. And it's just, it gives me these, like, really weird feelings. To where it's like, it feels like, again, good intent, but some negative connotations with it all. And on top of that, we find out that the Heliotrope goddess's hair can also increase your Wakfu and your powers, which we see through Yugo using it to increase his sight and whatnot. So that's kind of curious as well. I'm wondering exactly what they're doing with that. And finally, I want to talk about Ruel. So at the end of the episode here, we see Ruel wakes up after being conked by his wife and finds that she has taken his entire fortune and is planning to give it to the needy, which is great. I love that she's doing that. And she leaves a note for him telling him this and telling him, your greed has gotten the better of you. It's destroyed our relationship. I'm going to give away all your money. I'll see you again in a month where you'll be poor and helpless, and maybe then we can talk, basically. And I think that's completely fair, because his greed has been his biggest vice, has been Ruel's biggest downfall. And she's right. It ruined their relationship. And unfortunately, it seems like Ruel hasn't learned as much as we hoped. Because at the end here, he gets angry at this and is like, oh, you're not giving away all my money, and goes to try and stop her. It's like, my dude, don't do this. You're better than this. But the problem is, he's really not. This is very much in character for Ruel. And it's something that he very much is going to need to get over. He very much needs to better himself here. And hopefully, through this season, he'll finally be able to do so. But yeah, this episode continued and started to show the Heliotrope goddess's true colors. We're definitely going to be going into some shit here, and I'm very, very interested to see how it manifests. And I think it's gonna end up coming down to the goddess and her children taking on the Brotherhood of the Tofu. I don't know, again, where Madagascan places in all of this, but we'll see. Either way, as always, no spoilers in the comments below or anywhere else. I wish to continue to go into this as blind as possible. But I would love to hear your thoughts on this episode. So tell me what you thought down below, as long as just there are no spoilers in there. And if I missed anything, please feel free to say that as well. Because if I miss anything during an episode, I'm fine with you telling me. It's like, oh, you missed this, by the way. That's fine. You can go with that. And again, if there's anything I forgot to mention and you want to hear my thoughts on, feel free to ask about that as well. For now, though, thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.